2B, resolution directing the mayor or mayor's designee to amend the Taxicab Advisory Group regulations to establish a permanent membership selection committee of the Taxicab Advisory Group, to reconstitute the Taxicab Advisory Group, to provide for 2-year terms for the Taxicab Advisory Group members, to create term limits applicable to each individual member, and to provide for staggered terms of membership. 2B.
Commissioner Jordan, you like to put something on the record? I've got some cards here, and I'll call those cards out and have folks come and put their testimony on the record.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and happy birthday to you. First of all, I just wanted to make a statement that when we were going through issues relative to the taxicab industry and the airport issues that came up, there were a number of meetings that all of us had, and several of those meetings stuck out with me because TAG kept coming up. And I met with staff, and as a result of that, some of the concerns that I had, staff had already said that they wanted to work on those issues as well. So as a result of that, we have the item before us, and I've had a number of meetings with representatives from the industry, both drivers and owners, and the community in general. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. All right, I have some cards, and once I get through the cards, if there are any others who would like to testify, I'll acknowledge you at that time. When you come up, I need you to put your name and address on the record. Naez Mohammed, Raymond Francois. We've got 2 podiums, so you can line up at each podium.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Commissioner Moss and honorable commissioners. And first of all, happy birthday to you, Mr. Boas. Thank you. And I'm going to say, well, I'm sorry. My name is Niaz Muhammad, and I live 17922 Southwest 145 Avenue. And I thank you, all the commissioners, give us a time and talk about the problem of the cab driver and their concern, and they come to that solution that I especially thank Commissioner Barbara Jordan that she's taking a first step to reorganize this TAG committee. From the last 10 years, there was no cab driver was sitting in that committee. There was, but there was only Mr. Yes who was sitting in that committee, and the representation for the real cab drivers, more than 4,000 drivers were not in that committee. So our concern was heard, and I thank you for her first step, and I hope that all the commissioners will join her to find a solution that we can serve the tourists coming to this community, to this state, to this county. The main revenue is the tourism for this state. And we can give that excellent service, and we can give excellent service to the community here. They deserve that excellent service. But these drivers, they are hard-working people, but they don't have no tools. They don't have that enough tools that we need to provide them, that we need to take a solid step toward that how we can help these cab drivers, that they have enough tools that they can give excellent service to the tourists and to the people of this county. And I'll be asking that some of the owners are concerned that we don't want to flood the medallion to the industry, but there are about more than 50 drivers every year coming to this industry. But nobody think about that. The county is issuing hike license, but they don't give them no tools. So how are they going to work? So that's from 2011 to 2014. All right, Mr.
Muhammad, thank you.
We are short.
Thank you very much.
So I hope everything understood.
Thank you very much. Yes, sir.
Good afternoon. My name is Raymond Francois. I'm living in 693 Northeast 167th Street, North Miami Beach, Florida. On behalf of the association New Vision, I would like to say thanks to Commissioner Jordan, especially who take the heat to bring this item forward. Clearly, the current tag didn't represent the interests of the taxi drivers. Hopefully, this time, driver we'll have somebody who represent them at this board. We appreciate the fact this new tag will provide seat an additional for the drivers. This time, county commissioner is now part of the selection. We didn't have that before. This is a great move. And then is provide term limit. We didn't have that before. This is another example. This new tag will do a better job. Also, the current member of the tag will stay to the side for 2 years. This is a good move forward, because in order to make a good foundation, we have to start at the beginning, which is the base to put the taxi industry forward by reforming the tag, which is represent a good tools to guide the county commissioner or the industry have to be work. Hopefully, when they select the members, they might choose people, especially taxi drivers, who represent the majority of the drivers, not the special interest of somebody else.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mina Jagannath, looks like Gustavo Chacon, Jonelle Serami, and Ernst de Rosier.
Pretty good, Commish.
Good afternoon. Happy birthday, Commissioner Bova. My name is Mina Jagannath, and I'm at 563 Northeast 67th Street, Miami. My name is Mina Jagannath, and I am an attorney at the Community Justice Project at Florida Legal Services. I work with the New Vision Taxi Drivers Association, and we wanted to voice our support for this item today. We take a strong interest in any proposed reforms to the tag, as any decisions it takes deeply impact the lives of taxi drivers. In the past, the tag has not been seen to be a representative body, and thus taxi drivers haven't felt like their interests have been adequately represented by that body. We support the reforms that Commissioner Jordan proposes. We welcome the fact that the makeup of the tag is now proportional to the actual makeup of the taxi industry. In particular, we appreciate that the seats allocated to taxi drivers better reflect the proportion of medallion owner drivers to non-owner drivers. We also appreciate that this resolution aims to reconstitute the tag and reiterates the two-year term limits, in light of the fact that in the past, those term limits have not been respected. It is important that the Commission hold the tag accountable to those limits. In addition, we want to assure that the taxi drivers who participate on the tag truly do represent the interests of the taxi drivers, and therefore propose that the selection committee appoint drivers who represent associations of taxi drivers, any associations that exist in Miami-Dade. We propose this so that those taxi drivers that are sitting on the tag can use democratic communication processes to gather the concerns of drivers and communicate those to the other members of the industry sitting on the tag. We also propose that the tag representatives who is appointed to the selection committee be either a customer or a member of the government, so that it's neither a passenger service company nor a taxi driver that's actually making these selection choices. The success of the tag is intimately tied to the efficacy of its members and their ability to properly represent the interests of their community. To that end, we will keep a close eye on the selection process.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yes, sir.
Gustavo Chacon, 1051 Northwest 18th Avenue. Good afternoon. I support and I'm against the resolution at the same time, simply because the tag board and the lag board both have been manipulated by PTRD. We don't have the same representation at the limo board as the taxis does. So why not get both boards into it? The staff of PTRD have been finger appointing, and rules and regulations have been broken left and right. it's time for us to get someone involved into this department and clear this mess. I had tried for years to get in the board. I can't get on the board because I'm not the liking of the guy that got the pointed finger.
All right, let's stay focused on the issue.
The idea is great. The taxi need to have their drivers on this board. They are the majority, but we need it on the limo board the same. Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Je suis Ernst Derisier.
My name is Ernst Derisier.
Mon adresse c'est 830 Nord-Ouest 143 Street, Miami, Florida 33168.
I live at 830 Northwest 143 Street, Miami, Florida 33168.
Je veux vous dire bonsoir à tous les officiels de Miami-Dade County ainsi que l'Assemblée qui sont ici cet après-midi.
I would like to say hello to everybody who is here present, to members of the council and all present here today.
La raison que je suis ici, c'est pour vous dire au nom de l'association de la nouvelle taxi, chauffeur taxi de Miami,
I'm here today to tell you on behalf of the association, the new Association of Taxi Drivers of Miami,
et pour vous dire encore que nous supportons l'agenda de l'officiel Barbara Jordan,
to tell you that we are in favor of the agenda of Officer Jordan,
parce que cet agenda va protéger, va balancer va balancer l'activité des travailleurs de taxi
because this agenda will protect and strike a balance in the activities of taxi drivers.
et aussi protéger l'intérêt de l'industrie. L'intérêt de l'industrie.
And also protect the industry's interests.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you to your interpreter.
Non, pas moi, c'est Joannel Sérémy.
My name is Joannelle Seremi.
Moi, habité dans 12930 Nord-Ouest 21e Avenue, Miami, Florida.
I live at 12930 Northwest 21st Avenue, Miami, Florida 33167.
Moi, je voulais saluer tous les elected officials.
I would like to say hello to all the elected officials.
Et moi, j'ai eu l'occasion encore après-midi pour me présenter
And I am happy to be here among you today
pour me capable supporter the 2B resolution.
in order to show my support for Resolution 2B.
Et moi, c'est un membre New Vision Taxi dans Miami.
I'm a member of New Vision Taxi in Miami.
Pour aujourd'hui encore,
Today also,
moi, je que ça commissionnaire entreprendre là, même si c'est M. Jordan qui est sponsorisé.
today I would also like to show support for all the commissioners that are here today, even if it's Ms. Jordan who enacted this initiative, did this initiative.
Nous voulons la vie nouvelle pour chauffeur taxi.
I would like to see a new life for taxi drivers
Sous tout département Floride là.
Throughout Florida.
OK. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much.
Moi dis bonsoir à tout le monde.
Hello to everyone.
Et premièrement, je porte félicitations à ma commissionnaire Barbara Jordan pour venir avec une résolution comme ça.
I would like to congratulate Commissioner Jordan who came up with such a resolution.
Et on bagaille que nous avons discuté pour longtemps, nous avons trouvé.
This is something we've been talking about for a long time now.
Je pense que avec résolution ça peut-être qu'il y a une balance.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm sorry. Nom c'est Salomon Sénor. Adresse moi c'est 240 Nord 10 152 Suite. Miami, Florida 3362.
Monsieur.
Okay, 240 Salomon Sénor.
Salomon
Sénor.
Senor. My name is Salomon Senor, and I live at 240 Northeast
152 Suite,
152 Street,
Miami, Florida,
Miami, Florida,
33162.
33162, 33162.
OK, moi t'aimerais que son bill moi personnellement me supporter parce que
I favor this bill because
nous tous qui dans l'industrie nous avons un bon changement dans l'industrie.
we would like to see a significant change in the industry.
À cause de l'amendement ça, je crois qu'il y a une balance qu'on y a.
After this amendment, I think that a balance can happen.
Toute partie au venir satisfait.
All parties can be satisfied.
Alors demandez l'autre collègue pour capable supporter bill ça tout.
I ask all your colleagues to support, to be in favor of this bill.
OK, et dernier bagage n'a dit non société là tout le monde vive bien. Moi son bagage qui fait société à marcher.
I think in a society when everybody participating in that society lives well, then the society as a whole is better off.
Merci beaucoup, que bon Dieu continue à parler dans le cœur nous pour faire bon changement ça.
May God continue to speak into your heart so you can take the right decision.
Okay. All right. Anybody else on this item?
After you.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to speak. First of all, let me thank Commissioner Jordan for taking this task on because, you know, I think it's a difficult task, and I think that it's very well intended. That being said,
You need your name and address.
I'm sorry, Diego Feliciano, South Florida Taxicab Association. Thank you. As I was saying, the task was needed. With that being said, let me explain to everybody who wants to apply to this committee or thinks that they're going to apply that this isn't about personal issues or what you want. This is about what's good for the community. And this TAC committee that has existed all along has done that, served our community, reinvented systems for the wheelchair accessible and a lot of other things that were important. So it isn't about personal agendas. It's about what we do good for our community. And that's what this, and to think that maybe 3 taxicab people in this committee have overruled the Department of Transportation of the airport, Monica Wong from the port, a retired police officer, a retired psychologist, and the 7, 8 other members that can vote against any item taxis would be absurd. We need to convince them that these are items that are important to the community, and that's how the things come forward to you. That being said, Commissioners, it is important for me to say that it would be terrible if we sunsetted the county commission and there was nobody here to follow through with what you all been doing, what important work you do. And precisely, we're sunsetting a committee very aware that it takes months to take applications and that this committee will not exist for all those months. And during that period, all like you did with your term limits, it would have been nice to hear that the term limits come from now on, but not to start with dismantling a group that's been working. That being said, Commissioners, you know, it'll be a loss to this industry in the middle of this Uber and Lyft battle that we're having and all these things for that committee not to exist for those couple months, and I urge you to keep it enacted while it's happening. Last of all, Commissioner Jordan, to you, if you could please defer this for a time until we get more information. Thank you.
All right.
Good afternoon. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Jackson Rip Holmes. I live at 915 Palermo Avenue in Coral Gables, apartment 106. I urge those who spoke before and everyone on the committee to consider that I believe this resolution is a wolf in sheep's clothing. It looks like it's reform, but in reality, it's defeating reform. And the reason that I say that to you is that this creates a loophole for the present members who would now who now face term limits, who now have to resign because they're term limited out, to avoid those term limits and to stay on. If we get a change up because this resolution is defeated, and those who have been leading us into disaster for the past 2 decades finally have to resign because they're term limited out, that's when we'll get reform. By defeating this resolution, then the real reform will happen. I know that a lot of the speakers before have been fooled. And what I submit to you is, don't fall for it. This is a wolf in sheep's clothing. This is a trick. This is the old Trojan horse thing. Oh, yeah, we'll open this big gift horse, and out come the Greek soldiers and run everybody over. This is a Trojan horse. What needs to happen is, and this is in the best interest of the taxi industry, those who have led the taxi industry to disaster that the committee will be taking up today need to be term limited out. If the mayor, we have, in my opinion, the best mayor that I've ever known in Miami-Dade County. I don't want to see him term limited, but he's term limited. He has to obey the law. He's not going to pull some little card out of his hat to try and do a loophole like's coming up today. You commissioners, you've done a great job. You have the faith of your community. I'm sure that if an election were held, you would win. But you're going to obey the law, and you're going to step down when your term limits come up. So why should we create a loophole for these two fellows who we know have led the taxi industry into disaster that we're facing today?
All right, your time
Stay
is
on.
up. Your time is up. Matter of fact, I'll let you go. That won't happen again.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jerry Moskowitz. I'm the owner of Coral Cab, 2284 Northwest 36th Street. I'm also the vice chair of the current TAG. I've been the vice chair of the current TAG for over 9 years, even though my term limits have been 2. And the reason that has happened is nobody wants to fill my seat from the industry. These are businessmen representing the taxi industry, and you're asking those businessmen to give up many hours of their livelihood. Just like you have problems getting taxi drivers to serve on TAG, which I've asked almost every speaker that came up to please serve on TAG as a driver. They don't have the time. I have been in this industry for 42 years here in Miami. I know the taxi industry. And if you take away my ability to put my knowledge into your laws by giving you advice via TAG, you're really defeating the industry. I ask Commissioner Jordan to please defer this item so we have a chance, TAG, to look it over and see if we can make some recommendations. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you.
Commissioners, good afternoon. My name is Orly Jadwab. I'm with Miami Springs Taxi and Key Transportation, 199 Northwest 79th Street in Miami. I thank you for listening to me today, and thank Commissioner Jordan. Hi, Commissioner. I want to remind the drivers that came up here that while I respect what it is that they have to say, we have spent the last year in a lot of turmoil trying to defend the medallion holders that hold very valuable licenses that are being threatened right now with complete deregulation by rogue applications that are coming in. And we have spent a lot of time. I'm not on the board, but I attend every single month, and we discuss very, very important issues. In addition, we have spent the past year and prior to the past year with reform on the charge card issue in defense of the drivers, trying to get all the latest mechanisms into the vehicles so that drivers do not have to take that expense themselves, which is a concern of the Commission, and we took that under advisement with the TAG committee. And we came up with something that Commissioner Zapata was able to pass and will now be implemented into all the taxi cabs. In our company alone, we've implemented over 500 taxi cab meters connected to this charge card system, and we're also getting the other mechanisms in place that have meet all the regulatory standards that the commissioners put in place with that particular mechanism. So in defense of the TAG committee in terms of those particular allegations that we do not represent the taxicab drivers or the medallion holders. That's not true at all. We do. So that's what I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No, please.
Age before beauty?
Something like that.
Good evening, good afternoon.
It's not that big of a gap. Or just
Susan Freed, 1875 Northeast 197th Terrace. Commissioner, I promise I'll be good. Happy birthday, Commissioner Bovo. Commissioner Jordan, you're awesome. Everything that you follow in detail is extraordinary to me. And I want to also comment on Joe Moore, Raul. I have sat for the past 8 years at every single TAG and limousine committee meeting. Yes, it is true. Everybody's been invited. If they would show up, they would have an opportunity to speak. They showed up once, and frankly, staff had to have them removed because of being boisterous. Everybody on these committees really wants the input. We don't know what's happening other than in our little group, so obviously it's better to have everybody out there communicating. So I also ask, with the greatest respect, if you could defer this for a while and let us sit together so that the history, this, I said age before beauty, I really meant that. I've been around since the early 80s. There are things that I can remember that nobody knows even happened because you're all so much younger than me. At the end of the day, give us some time to work this through. I'm certain that there is an opportunity for everybody to come to the same and good conclusion. And yes, in the benefit of all the visitors and people who take taxis, I happen to be one of those people that take taxis because I live so far north, it's easier to take a cab than to drive my own car. So again, happy birthday, Commissioner Bovo. How old are you? No. Thank you very much, Commissioner Moss, Commissioner Monasteem, Commissioner Barrero, and Commissioner Jordan.
Thank you. I want to welcome the Vice Chair, Barrero. Thank you for being here. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My name is Madam Renita Holmes, address 350 Northwest 4th Street, mailing address. Representing the Women's Association, Alliance Against Injustice and Violence, Wave of Education, Advocacy, and Support. And it's been a long haul. In speaking with a lot of taxi drivers, I ride a lot of jitneys and a lot of buses, and public transportation is just one of those basic necessities. Most people don't think that taxi drivers are too. I'm a firm believer in cultural competence when it comes to leadership, Commissioner. And when we talk about people on advisory groups, 9 times out of 10, the ability to relate and identify to what is the actual reality is one thing, but when we as leaders have to set meetings and create environments by which the general public of the average rider, mother, grandmother, grandfather working, if we talked about the impact of the public hearing, the time, how much money would be lost, and we would all understand that was one thing that all leaders at every level want, and that's fairness. Fairness and accommodation. As person with disability, fairness and accommodations as taxpayers to represent themselves. And most advisory groups and boards happen at a time, trust me, I know. If I was not a person with disability and self-employed, it would be difficult to attend these meetings, but here I am. I am a person who has many issues to study at a time when most of the people that I'm studying and representing along with myself, my peers, are working. Is that fair? No. Uber and a lot of the other companies and a lot of those people that wear suits that come to these advisory groups already have a salary that they're getting, so they lose no time. So is it fair? No. Does it hurt to give a little extra time? Yes, that's accommodation. Does it help to put it in an environment where people can reach that central? Yes. So our standards and our guidelines and our marks, we can't check them off because we really haven't done that when it comes to that. And I love the library location. I love coming here, but in the middle of the night when I'm making money, is that fair? So let's look at the cultural competence and the way that we design these advisory boards, who's included, and the reasonable accommodation. And then I'll know leadership is representing me, not just people in suits. Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right. Commissioner Jordan, to close on your item.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First of all, let me say that in terms of the historical perspective of the existing TAG board, I want to say that we owe you a debt of gratitude for everything that has been done, and I don't see anything in terms of what I'm doing here as disrespecting what you've done in the past. My purpose is to make sure that just as we have done with a number of boards in county government, as time change and situations change, so do the rules change, and so does representation change. And we've had a number of boards where we have totally changed the makeup. We've done the makeup of Public Health Trust twice. And I was an assistant county manager when Commissioner Moss initially took on the entire taxi issue and made significant improvements. And many of you will recall that you even had society cabs that we were responding to for the community, that we wanted everything to be yellow cab, yellow cab, yellow cab. But there was a history in a community that needed to be preserved, and that history was respected. So I want you to know that I really appreciate the work that has been done, and there's no malice behind what we're doing here, but I think that we have to look at issues as they come up and complaints as they come up and try and make things better. And I would like to make sure that if this item does move on, that we follow it up with an implementing order. There were complaints, Mr. Chair, about the fact that drivers wouldn't show up. There are rules that you put in place, that you can put in place when a person misses 3 consecutive meetings, they're no longer there. If we put those kind of rules in place in an implementing order. So I think that there are things that we can do to improve the system, and that's the intent here. I just want to say that I met with at least 10 different representatives or groups during this whole process. This is nothing where any one entity has influenced anything. And each time I met with them, we changed something. We changed something, even down to my last meeting with the majority of owners that were there. We changed something in this item because we want it to be fair. No one is happy about everything that's in it. And I think that's what makes it at least palatable, because everybody is not completely happy with it. So I just wanted to say, Mr. Chair, thank you so much, but I would like for the county attorney to kind of outline what the item does and put that on the record, and to say that I did listen to the issues relative to, I think it's the limousine committee, and that is the next item that we are going to be taking a look at. And before, many of you will remember, I was in full support of Uber. But this situation that is occurring in terms of Lyft and Uber and renegade taxis, I am totally opposed to it. And I think it hurts their, I think it hurts their cause more than help their cause. So.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we don't have any clapping for or against.
So I just want to compliment the existing group, because this is not intended to hurt you, but to help the community at large. And at this point, Mr. Chair, I would like for the attorney to describe the item and what it does.
Mr. Attorney, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Commissioner Jordan. This item reconstitutes the membership selection committee to include the current Taxicab Advisory Group chairperson, the for-hire division chief, and an appointee of the chairperson of the Board of County Commissioners to become the membership selection committee. They will have the task of selecting the new members consistent with the new membership that's outlined in this resolution. Once those members are picked, they will replace the current Taxicab Advisory Group, which will be dissolved, and the new group shall be constituted with those representatives. There will be term limits for these people. The current members of the Taxicab Advisory Group also cannot be appointed to this new group. The resolution specifically states that members that currently serve there should be new consumer and industry group representatives that do not currently serve on the Taxicab Advisory Group and have not served as a member of the Taxicab Advisory Group within the past 2 years. Just to be clear, that applies to the consumer and industry group representatives. There are some government and other group representatives that would not apply to. There will also be term limits that will be staggered so that it can create some continuity of service going forward. And it will be two-year terms of service for half the seats, and the other halves will have an initial term of 1 year and then a 2-year term of service before they're term limited. And that applies to the consumer and industry group representatives.
In the existing group.
And I'm sorry.
And the existing group will stay until the new board.
The existing group will stay until this new group is appointed and the new group is constituted, at which time the existing group will be replaced.
Okay.
I'll move the item, Mr. Chairman.
Got a motion, and here a second, and a second. Discussion? No discussion? Mr. Vice Chair, you recognize?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. In part, I can understand the issue of getting something done with this, with the advisory group, and now, not permitting people from the taxi industry that have been in leadership positions for them, not permitting to be on the new board. That's part of it, and I have a problem with that. I think we gotta somehow let it's that industry letting themselves be represented, and I don't want to to dictate to them that they can't have their own representatives. Because in our part, from the government side, we're permitting our own staff to be continue, and if they have the knowledge and the skills and the history on it, you're giving an unfair advantage to regulations compared to industry. So I'm, right now I'm not comfortable. I don't have a level of comfort for the resolution, and I would see how we could. I don't have an amendment. Unfortunately, I'm not prepared to have an amendment to change to offer to be considered, but I don't have a level of comfort right now with the way it's written.
May I respond?
Yes, Commissioner Jordan, you recognize?
Okay. If you look at the item, there are 9 seats that basically would not be able, that exist now, that would not be able to serve for 2 years, but they can be reappointed after 2 years. However, out of the 9 seats, 4 of the seats are principal seats. So ownership is involved in 4 of those seats that are currently in this new item. It may not be the same individuals, so it wasn't written to represent the individuals, but to represent the principals in different stages. 3 would be drivers, and 2 would be consumers. So it's done in such a way to make sure that we're starting out new and fresh with new and fresh people, but we're still representing the industry in different categories of ownership. I just wanted to put that on the record.
Vice Chair, you have any follow-up?
That's it. While, yeah, we're doing the principals, they have to be owners, but if amongst the owners or principals, they want to have the same leadership, we're sort of dictating that they can't be. I don't have a problem with consumers. I don't have a problem with drivers per se, strictly drivers that aren't owners. But we're not doing that for us. We can't say it can't be the same regulator. It has to be another regulator, another division director or something. That's the. That's where I'm at.
Commissioner Marlinstein.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just like every other item, I don't think this item is perfect, but I think it's heading in the right direction. I think there should be representative from the different segment of our industry, including consumer and taxi drivers and owners. I have a concern that it limits the ability of certain to be represented. That's a concern. However, I know there was a letter sent by the association to Commissioner Jordan to kind of like strengthen this item, and in the event that all these are taken into consideration, I think it would be a better item. I do think as well that the portion of term limits, I support that. We are on term limits right now. I think it's good to have term limits because fresh ideas are always good, although I do have a concern with the fact that a certain amount of historical knowledge will be missed on the short-term basis from the board. Even though I believe that the administration will always be represented, but you don't want the perspective of the administration only in regards to experience to come to the board. I think that is missing from the item, but it's folks need to understand, Commissioner Jordan and I, we don't have the luxury of discussing an item before it comes to the board. So this is the first time we're having a discussion on this. I think it's a work in progress. I wanted to move forward to the full board, and that's why I'm in support of it.
Mr. Chair.
Vice Chair, you recognize.
Mr. Chair, I support doing a change. I support consumers and drivers per se, and just out of at least for mine, I'm not talking for the rest of the commission, but would you support a deferral for till the next committee meeting, just to take a stronger look at that one portion? Would you consider that? That's all I'm only.
Commissioner Jordan, you directing that to Commissioner Jordan?
Yeah,
Commissioner Jordan, would you like to respond?
It came up, the issue of existing members serving on the board came up in terms of especially ownership and control. It came up in at least half of the groups that I met with, which is why I made the decision, okay, let's not protect anybody. Let's basically make the full change so that we're starting fresh. We still have the representation of principals. By the way, on the nominating council committee, the existing chair of the TAG will be serving as on that nominating committee, so that you're going to have that kind of leadership and continuity going to the existing chair serving. And if we allow, if we're going to single out the members who are owners, then that presents the other issue of the other groups coming back and saying, well, let us stay as well. So to me, it was fairer to just say, let's start new. We've done it in the past with our groups. We've done it with the OTAC, the housing board. We've done it with the Public Health Trust, as I said before, and with other boards. And everything worked out well with those. So I would like to let it remain as is unless the discussion goes in such a way, if and when it gets to the full board and I have to defer it, then, I'd rather just let it go.
Commissioner Bobo, you recognize?
Yeah, I think that I think we should move it forward, and I think that the possibility of continuing to get input can happen in the interim basis, and then in the full committee, it'll give us options and the flexibility to go ahead and work on this item. I know it's a very emotional item, and I know a lot of people are kind of emotionally attached to it, but I believe in the spirit of what Commissioner Jordan is trying to do. So, like I said, I'm going to fully support, and I think there will be an avenue. There will be an avenue to address issues, whether issues that derive from commissioners or from the industry. She's going to be open to be able to continue to work on the item. But I don't think that this position is to either defer it or kill it, to be perfectly honest with you. So I want to continue to support it as it is right now.
All right, and let me just say in conclusion, we're going to take a vote. I'll support it moving forward at this time, and I would ask that you continue to have dialogue with the various groups who expressed a concern, and perhaps something else can be presented when it comes to the full board. With that, I got a motion and a second. Terezzo, anyone wish to record it now? Okay. Item moves forward.
Thank you.